It is a land without time, a deserted landscape carved with desolate canyons and painted in natural colors. Among the vast plateaus and sheer cliffs of America's arid Southwest, a great culture once thrived. Today, its ancient cities lie in ruin, shrouded in mystery. Legend suggests the people who built these stone cities virtually disappeared more than 700 years ago. Many of the secrets behind their departure remain, some locked among crumbled fortress walls forever. But to their descendants, it is a spiritual story carried through generations, a sacred tale of the ancient ones. On a snowy December day in 1888, American rancher Richard Witherill and his brother-in-law Charlie Mason rode on horseback to the high mesa above Mancos Valley, Colorado. A stiff wind cut through the treacherous canyons and granite crevices. Each man knew the deadly power of a blizzard. As nightfall approached, the ranchers worked their way toward a rocky ledge in search of stray cattle. What they found instead changed their lives forever. The remains of a great stone city appeared through the blinding snowfall like a mirage. And in that moment, legends of an ancient civilization became reality. Their discovery became known as the Cliff Palace Ruins. Before Witherill and Mason found the Cliff Palace ruins, stories of a lost civilization filled the folklore of the American West. Today's Navajo Indian tribe refers to the people of this legendary civilization as the Anasazi, which means the Ancient Ones. Pueblo Indian tribes who now live to the south, west, and east of the Anasazi ruins have long claimed to be descendants. Yet that intriguing connection was ignored for decades. Europeans who settled near here in the 19th century were slow to believe in the oral histories of the Pueblo or the Navajo. Like Witherill, scholars and historians wanted proof. Who were these remarkable people and what inspired their architectural achievements? In the century since the discovery of Cliff Palace, the ruins of thousands of ancient dwellings have been uncovered and explored. The ancient villages and cities now attributed to the Anasazi are scattered across the southwestern part of the United States. Most are clustered near the adjoining borders of 4 states, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah, in the region known as Four Corners. The civilization stretched from the scenic Las Platas mountain range in the northeast to the Lucachucay range in the northwest. Although the mighty Colorado River courses the western edge of the Anasazi world, most ruins have been uncovered in the barren dry lands to the east on what is known as the Colorado Plateau. The ruins of the Anasazi vary greatly in size, from simple earthen structures to elaborate communities, such as the cliff dwellings of Mesa Verde, Colorado, the towers of Hovenweep in Utah, the solitary ruins of Arizona's Canyon de Chelly, and the mysterious assembly of more than 30 stone villages that riddle New Mexico's Chaco Canyon. No one knows how many Anasazi people once lived in the Four Corners area, but archaeologists estimate that as many as 30,000 Anasazi once populated the valley between Hovenweep and Mesa Verde, more than 5 times the number of people who live here today. Most scholars believe the civilization lasted for more than a millennium, from roughly 100 AD to 1300 AD. However, it appears the end of the civilization came quickly. Many of its cities were seemingly abandoned in less than 100 years. Yet some Pueblo leaders, such as Peter Pino, believe the ruins are still inhabited.
Chaco Canyon and Mesa Verde are still occupied by the spirit world of the Pueblo people. So they're both spiritual, and they have a lot of spiritual power for people that go to those sites, with all three in unison with one another. And that, again, that's the mind, the heart, and the body. And if you go into those sites with prayers that are really connected to the spirit world, they'll be answered.
Joe Sando is a Pueblo spiritual leader.
We believe that the souls of the Pueblo people still exist today. And when we go to those places, we take out our corn pollen and offer it to the spirit that is alive there yet, to us.
For many who visit the ruins, there is little proof of a spiritual power beyond a feeling and a sense of wonder. Here in this desolate region of North America was a civilization that rivaled the Maya and Inca cultures to the south. But the Anasazi left behind little evidence of their culture, beyond the crumbled cities and villages found around Four Corners. Some of their knowledge was passed to descendants through oral tradition. Yet for most of the world, their story is only beginning to unfold. For more than 700 years, the stone ruins of the Anasazi have been uninhabited. They're treasures of the spirit lost, hidden, or buried under the sands of time. The natural forces that plagued the Anasazi still remain. While they coped with the hazards of winter, they worshipped the powerful forces of summer. Sun, life-giving rain, and the changing moon. Pueblo leader, Peter Pino.
Everything has a spirit, a rock, a tree, humans, animals. As a result, we treat everything with respect. We know that there's a source of being beyond what the eyes see. The sacredness of the earth, we refer to as Mother Earth. We have the sun, That's the father, and the father that comes out at night is the moon.
Reverence for the sun and moon can be interpreted from the only known writings of the Anasazi, stone carvings called petroglyphs. Some petroglyphs are easy to understand, others defy explanation. The dancing flute player, known as the Kokopelli, is still meaningful to the Anasazi's descendants, who believe it symbolizes fertility. Leon Skyhorse, a Navajo guide in Canyon de Chelly, interprets the spiritual beliefs of the Anasazi from petroglyphs found on canyon walls.
They believed in the sun and the stars, the rocks, the plants. And you can see it, we can interpret some of these rock art that we see. You know, we see the 4 cardinal directions there, we see animals there, we see the sun, we see the moon.
Similar symbols appeared on pots, urns, and bowls, artifacts now housed in museums. These artifacts demonstrate the Anasazi skills with ceramics. Yet many of the illustrations are difficult to understand. Even more puzzling is the abundance of broken pieces of pottery scattered throughout the Four Corners region. From the north rim of the Grand Canyon eastward, it's as if ceramic pots rained from the heavens and were shattered on the hardened ground. Many Pueblo people believe pottery was willingly broken by the Anasazi as part of a sacred ritual.
Essentially, it's an offering. If you make an offering, a piece of pottery, and you put the whole piece of pottery there, somebody's going to come along and take that pottery, and your offering is lost. If you break that pottery and all there is potsherds, it's of no use to anybody except the spirits that you made the offerings to.
The spiritual beliefs of the Anasazi and those of today's Pueblo people are uniquely similar. Among the strongest links between ancient and modern spirituality is an architectural structure known as a kiva.
The structures that remain at Chaco or wherever the ruins are that have a kiva are the kind of chambers that we still use today as ceremonial centers.
Essentially, a kiva is like a gathering place of religious society members. In the Four Corners area, the kivas are small because it's really just the membership of one society holding meetings and holding gatherings and holding religious ceremonies within those chambers.
The word kiva translates as ceremonial room. These circular subterranean structures are found in Anasazi ruins throughout the Four Corners region. The ancient kivas at Cliff Palace and Balcony House in Mesa Verde are relatively small, only a few feet in diameter. Much larger kivas have been unearthed at the ruins of Chaco Canyon. Many of these great kivas are more than 10 times the size of those at Mesa Verde, yet they all seem to serve a spiritual purpose. Perhaps the most intriguing feature of the kivas is a small dusty crater often found toward the center of the room. It is called the Sipapu, and many believe it symbolizes the entrance to the spirit world and the birthplace of the Anasazi.
I am visiting your home, but as a visitor, I want to ask you to give me your blessings, so that my children, wherever they are, might also have the blessings and live long and live a good life.
The Pueblo people of today rarely enter the ruins, and when they do, it is usually to pray to their ancestors. The Navajo tribe settled the lands near Canyon de Chelly long after the Anasazi had departed. Like the Pueblo people, most avoid the ruins. They're considered a sacred place. Marjorie Thomas, a Navajo, herds her sheep on the plateau above Canyon de Chelly.
It used to be way back that you don't talk about them. You don't go to the ruins. Their spirits are still there. You don't pick up the broken pottery because it's not made for you, it's theirs. And their spirits are still around and they're watching you.
Many people believe the spiritual power of this landscape extends to the beginning of time, to the time of creation. Ancient stories tell of an underground world, a parallel dimension from which the Anasazi emerged into this world. It is a story supported by many descendants, including Joe Sando.
The story is that they came from the underworld. You know, they talk about the first world, second world, third world, even the fourth world. Many times they are led by some kind of an animal.
Many Pueblo people believe the Anasazi came from the underworld to the Sipapu, as if from the womb of Mother Earth. They emerged worshiping light and prayer to their Father Sun with offerings of pollen and sacred cornmeal. To the Anasazi and today's Pueblo people, the Sipapus found in kivas throughout the Four Corners region are like shrines to the story of their creation, as well as their death.
At death, the spirit follows that same path in reverse and back down to the point of origin. They enter back into that hole and back into the first level of world, point of origin, and that's where they're reassigned into the next world.
The story of their ancestors' emergence from the underworld to this world is among the most sacred told by the Pueblo people. While it helps to explain some of the architectural features of the ruins, it may also hold the secrets behind the mystery of the Anasazi's departure from their majestic stone cities. Survival is nearly impossible on the desert-like terrain of the southwestern United States. The Four Corners region is riddled with twisting gorges, river washes, and mesas. Farming proves a constant challenge. Even the bighorn sheep must fight for food in this parched landscape. To the Anasazi who once occupied the stone communities scattered across the Colorado Plateau, simple rainfall was a blessing, a prayer answered by Mother Earth. During the 12th and 13th centuries, the Anasazi departed from most of the Four Corners region. Despite centuries of progress in architecture, masonry, irrigation, and ceramics, something forced them to leave, and their departure sparked a mystery for the settlers who followed. Based on the study of tree rings, many archaeologists believe a prolonged drought from 1276 to 1299 AD contributed to the Anasazi's decision to move south. It's believed they relocated near the Jemez and Rio Grande rivers of New Mexico, the same area where many of today's Pueblo villages are located. But the departure of the Anasazi may also be rooted in the story of their creation. Some Pueblo descendants believe the Anasazi migrated from one community to another as part of a quest for Itiwana, their spiritual center place. It's believed the Anasazi migration began soon after their emergence from the Sipapu. According to the migration myth, most villages and cliff dwellings were only temporary homes, and their abandonment was part of a spiritual odyssey that would not be finished until the center place was found. There's an increasing belief among scholars that the ruins of Chaco Canyon were once the spiritual center of the Anasazi world. Although the structures here were designed to house hundreds of people, very few remains of the dead have been found. The lack of grave sites suggests the visitors may have come here to pray, not to live. Some believe the pit houses were constructed as temporary housing, and in a land so limited in agricultural resources, it would have been difficult to sustain a large population year-round. Less than 10 inches of rain fall here annually. Was Chaco Canyon the center place of the Anasazi world? Was it used by worshippers on a spiritual retreat? The theory may be supported by the ongoing discovery of the prehistoric roads of Chaco. Since the early 1970s, nearly 1,500 miles of ancient roads have been mapped. Though difficult to see from ground level, they radiate out from Chaco Canyon like the spokes of a wheel, within an area of nearly 100,000 square miles. But why were the roads built? Some believe the Anasazi may have followed religious leaders on foot from their distant homes to the great houses and kivas of Chaco Canyon. Some of the roads may have been used for trade. Others, such as the North Road out of Chaco Canyon, may be an expression of spiritual values. The North Road is littered with ceramic potsherds and ends abruptly in an isolated canyon. At least 7 roads lead to Chaco Canyon. It appears certain that generations traveled to and from Chaco, perhaps to worship their gods, perhaps in search of their spiritual center place. The smell of campfires and the laughter of children have been gone from the ruins of the Anasazi for nearly 8 centuries. Hundreds of architects and builders toiled with primitive tools and searing heat, yet their castles of earth and stone were left behind. Though much has passed with time, the spirit world remains for today's Pueblo people.
You can sit on the mesa top and just have a quiet moment to yourself, and you can sense the motion of the time when the community was occupied. You sense a sense of energy that goes beyond words, and essentially, in order to feel what is happening there, you would have to feel it in heart and in mind and in body. And unless you can feel that spiritualness of the area, you haven't felt what's truly there.
Even in their worn, eroded condition, the ruins still rise like stone altars, monuments to the spirit of the ancient ones.